Don't look at the pictures. Okay. Okay, one sec. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Wilson, and I'm starting a thing called the Outer Body Experience Lab. And this started. The slide didn't advance, did it? Oh man. Is there like a timeout on that too, or is the responsiveness, should it be? My computer is just dying. I'm so bummed I have to cheat now. Oh, whoa.
If you need a few minutes, we can do some questions while you all how do you feel this?
Okay, no, there we go. Okay, sorry. Okay, so 17 years ago, I was in art school in San Francisco, and there was some discussion around like why all the attention to visual art? You know, why is visual art so special? Is there anything really different about that sense? There was a lot of writing about like, yeah, it's it's like the windows to the soul. It is really important. It is really different. It's what makes us, it gives us lots of different things. But a collaborator, friend, and I wanted to sort of test it. We wanted to test this question of whether the sense of sight alone could determine the position of your sense of self. So we wanted to find a way to pull your sense of sight out of your body and put it somewhere else and have it compete with all your other senses. And we actually didn't think it would happen. We thought that no, of course, like your smell and your taste and your touch and your hearing and your proprioception would all like significantly outweigh your sense of sight. So we set up this setup that I'm wearing now. Some video goggles that are getting a signal from a camera. So that camera over there is all I can see from right now. I'm seeing myself on the edge of the stage, and I can see a little bit of the screen here. And we set up an environment where we lived in a gallery space for a week under these conditions, and we never took them off. We wanted to give ourselves the best possible chance because we were skeptical it would work at all. And it actually worked pretty well. Like easily within the first day, we were literally feeling like you feel like you're living in a black room looking at a TV, and on the TV is a person that is responding, like kind of a puppet of you. And you move your arm and he moves his arm. So it does depend a lot on the circumstances, the activities, how activated the other senses are. Wow, what is that? Can somebody go turn that camera a little bit more towards the screen, please? And maybe... Yeah, maybe a little closer. Thank you. Okay, cool. That's the playing catch. So that first thing happened, years ago. And it lurked in the back of my mind. I kept wanting to redo it, but I wanted to make it participatory. Instead of me being on exhibit, I wanted to allow people to play with this. The gear we used back then, it wasn't wireless, it wasn't even battery powered, so we were lugging around these like huge electronic dreadlocks that were tethering us, and it was a real pain. So I kept looking in the market, and okay, maybe now's the time. And so a few months ago, it's like, all right, now's the time to do it. So started this kind of little research lab of like get some gear, get it running, and start testing, and start reimagining what kinds of activities could happen. So this one we were playing catch, with like a big yoga ball. So like the alignment can be really interesting and bizarre. So this is 2 people wearing the goggles. This is somebody climbing a tree while wearing them. This is somebody climbing over their car while wearing them. Kind of just literally freestyling, like let's just play, let's put this stuff on and play. This one is, there's a piece of plexiglass, and there was a drawing on one side of the plexiglass, and she's seeing a view that's pretty approximate to this photograph and trying to trace the thing. But like when you're looking into the front of a video camera, your motions are reversed, so it takes this immense amount of concentration. And this was kind of the beginning. We realized that the type of activity really has a lot to do with the sensation of where you feel like yourself is existing. If it's takes a lot of visual concentration, you kind of tune out the rest of your senses, and paying attention like moment by moment by moment, and really being careful about what you're seeing. What is that image? Oh, this is a maze, right? So this is we had set up a maze and thinking like, oh, the maze is perfect because there's no way you can do it from physical memory. You really have to watch which way you go, decide. Everybody's, making completely wrong turns the whole time and setting up these little cheats. Some people would walk with like little tiny shuffling things, and that was a pretty good tactic. And, some people just keep kind of doing this to figure out which way is left and right. But something like doing a hula hoop is the opposite. It's purely based on muscle memory. There's nothing visual about it. So while you could do that experience and it might look interesting to see yourself hula hooping, you're kind of cutting that experience off from its potential. This is a photo booth, so people wearing them inside of a photo booth. We tried a ping pong this. You can't see the ping pong here, but this is a new like hipster ping pong place in New York. And this is the proprietor there. So we tried ping pong, and it was impossible because the ball is so small and moving so fast. I mean, we spent an hour and maybe like hit one ball back. Totally impossible. Nobody even tried the unicycle. And then everybody wants to play with the camera. Everyone wants to move the camera. Everybody wants to activate the camera. What is it like to see yourself from another person's perspective, not just this objectified kind of static viewpoint? So we also, are just kind of dabbling and playing. What is it? These 2 people are seeing the exact same thing, staring at each other. I really can't see what's on this one. Can somebody tell me what's on this image? Oh, it's like a reflection. And okay, so this was, she's inside of a storefront, and I'm outside the store on the sidewalk looking through. So this kind of, you don't even have to be in the same room. And that disoriented her so much just psychically that she had to rip them off. It's too much. There was the reflection of the camera and the clouds and herself, and this real sense like you're looking at somebody else. That when you start, sometimes in the park, if you're like moving the camera and you go through some long, tall grass, or you hold it up high and go through some low-hanging branches, the people will completely freeze and like, hold on. It's almost like the way that a visceral reaction can locate you in your body. That kind of thing is a visual simulation of a visceral experience, but purely through the visual sense. So it pauses everybody. This interesting thing where just putting boxes on your heads while you're wearing the goggles, it is this, or paper bags, it is such a bizarre feeling. You feel it, you hear it. We're so used to this idea of like darkness descending over your eyes and like, I can't see anymore, but it doesn't change your vision at all whatsoever. So walking around like that is exactly the same as walking around like this. This, I also can't really see this one, I'm sorry. Can somebody say, tell me?
It's your little girl.
Somebody in a witch hat.
Okay, so this is my son Tabor. Kids excel at this stuff, and I just speculate that it's because they don't have as many habits that they have to overcome. So they love playing with it, and they're really good naturally and creative. This is my daughter, like really investigating her own face from different angles. So it's pretty interesting. So then I've just been playing around, and then we got invited to make something for this art festival that happens in San Francisco called the Lost Horizon Night Market, and it's a guerrilla art festival in a bunch of box trucks that happen underneath an abandoned freeway somewhere, and nobody knows where until the last minute, and there's like 20 trucks. And so we designed a game specifically to try to maximize throughput. You know, there was like 2,000 visitors to that night, and so we wanted to get as many as possible through there. And so we developed this kind of Connect 4 game with these cardboard boxes where you compete against somebody and you just have to stack the black or the white cubes in a way to get 4 in a row. And to also maximize throughput, we decided that taking turns was too slow, so it was like a race, just basically go nuts. And it got kind of wild. And some people really got rowdy, and it was pretty fun. So we had, you know, over 100 games ran through that night, and videotaped them all, and we're posting them. Does that mean 3 minutes left? Does that mean 3 minutes left? Okay, cool. Thank you. So that's kind of where we're at, and actually, and I've got during the gala tonight, after the next session at 5, I've set up this game out here in the lobby, so everybody can come and play. We'll be open for an hour and a half, and we've got a slightly different twist on it, but same setup, same gear, so definitely come by and play. So where we're at now, we're kind of just dabbling in like what's next. So been talking to people from all different worlds, and you know, like, okay, random ideas, but I want to start testing, like, how could yoga kind of fit into it? How could climbing fit into this? How could, what's this one? Yeah, like, yeah, playground, play equipment kind of stuff. You know, light painting, dinner parties, where you all have to be on one side of the table to face the camera. Skydiving. What is this one?
It's a grass world.
Oh, like optical illusions, so immersive optical illusions. Therapeutic, maybe this is like an example of like couples therapy, like, you know, sort of being able to kind of get outside of yourself for people who have trouble like actually stepping outside of their own perspective. And then maybe that would lead to something that, you know, we can't really show here. So yeah, that's about it. I'm wrapping up. This is sort of, we're in the meditation phase. So, you know, come play with us, get on the mailing list. That's it. I would love to collaborate and invite. The other part is kind of thinking of the lab like a place for artists to come who might have an idea of something to test out. So I would love to collaborate and work together. So yeah, that's about it.
So I'm Bruce Starling, and not an augmented reality artist, but I am an augmented reality art critic. And I'm a writer, and I write a lot about the AR scene. I have a blog for Wired. I'm a blogger, and I have a couple of categories there. One's called augmented reality, and another one's called tech art. And there are places where I sort of keep up with trends. So I'm just going to give you a few brief remarks here about sort of how to keep up with the sort of emergent tech art scene and the augmented reality art scene, which is a subset of that. It's closely related to other forms of code art, device art, gadget art, new media art, whatever. So, you know, if you find this sort of thing of interest and you want to get involved in it, let me give you a few hints. Right now, there's a website called Creators Project, which was sponsored by Intel and Vice magazine, oddly enough. But they are just really on fire right now. I mean, Creators Project is just a terrific tech art blog and has really interesting and engaging kinds of tech art with, you know, some pretty good critical writing by people who know what's going on. So I would urge you to look at Creators Project, and if it doesn't like capture your attention in like 15 minutes, this line of work is not for you. You know, go do something else. So, you know, my feeling is that we're at a really interesting time for this, for a variety of reasons, which don't really have all that much to do with technology and a lot to do with kind of the spirit of the times. But people are gathering to do this. I mean, tech art's old, and net art's old, and there's, you know, technology art that goes back to photography and so forth. But we've reached a new point now where people are actually gathering together through social networks, and especially around dedicated tech art devices, which is something we never had before. I mean, tech art was always sort of grabbing stuff that had been done by business and the military and trying to repurpose it. But now we've got these new platforms like the Arduino platform, which comes out of like Massimo Bonzi's people in Italy. It's a controller board. Processing, which is a visual art software language specifically invented for graphic artists, for code artists. Maybe Raspberry Pi, which is the new little teensy giveaway weirdo Linux box. And Kinects, which have been basically stolen from Microsoft, who can't really do any games for them, but they're all over the tech art world. MakerBot, Android OS for devices. So, you know, if you had this, I mean, if you had like your studio with like Arduino processing Raspberry Pi Connect MakerBot Androids, you'd be the tech art dude from hell right now. And, you know, and there are people working on this. The Free Art and Technology Lab, a group of like 19 different guys, 2 continents, super hip tech art guys, really a cluster, kind of a movement of people. I would urge you to look into them. There are groups that support tech art that have been around for a long time, but are sort of getting a new lease on life. Rhizome Group, the I-Beam Group, and of course Ars Electronica in Linz, which is the world's most famous electronic art festival. They just had the Golden Nico Awards. Ars Electronica in Linz has got like archives going back 30 years. And their Golden Nika is kind of the Oscar of the tech art world. If you win the Golden Nika, you get a lot of money, and that's sort of the glass ceiling for tech art. And we're starting to see more fundraising for tech art. Red Bull does augmented reality stuff. Absolute Vodka has done an augmented reality thing now. Phone companies are getting into the scene. The Brazilian tech art scene is very much supported by this Vivo thing. Same goes for like Mexican tech art. They've got a lot of tech support from like Carlos Slim and his gigantic device. He's the richest guy in the world, richer than Gates. Intel's pouring some money into this. It doesn't take a lot of money to like get tech art happening. Most of the people who do it are hobbyists. They have day jobs. They're engineers, web designers, whatever. You can put a show together. You can make it happen. In terms of augmented reality stuff, there are 2 artists I take quite seriously. Helen Papagiannis, she was here a couple of years ago, but she's really, really into augmented reality and I think has kind of a good theoretical understanding of it. And Sander Veenhoff, who's like the LAR artist in residence, code art guy, super clever guy, kind of prototypical European art guy. You know, if you're into AR art and you sort of like want to know where that's at, I would urge you to look up Sander Veenhoff and and Helen Papagiannis. But I think the biggest thing happening right now that can be related to augmented reality is projection mapping. And projection mapping is the one form of augmented reality that people can like look at for like 2 hours. You know, like the length of cinema. And you know, it's not a thing that's super popular in the AR world because it's not real AR, okay? It doesn't have 3D registration, it doesn't deal with the occlusion issues, it's just not classic kind of augmented reality, it's basically just a 2D overlay. But you know, so is Google Glass. And to tell the truth, so are most other forms of AR. I mean, we just haven't whipped the 3D registration problem, and that's probably a decade, maybe a generation away. But projection mapping is not a generation away. It's a big stinking deal. They've got their own support system. They have their own festivals now. There's like groups of guys doing this. They're all over Eastern Europe, Poland, Hungary. You know, they're starting to do things in a more sophisticated way. It used to be you just sort of go up to a building and like throw a bunch of weird video on it, make it melt, make it blow up. Now you're starting to see permanent installations, kind of better considered things, stuff that looks more like cinema. It's just been thought through better. It's not so artsy. I take projection mapping very seriously. And I think it's kind of easy to understand how you do it. It's like performance art. You kind of bring in the truck. It's easy to monetize. People pay to see it. So it's kind of a thriving scene, projection mapping. And it's just super interesting stuff. So, you know, in the art world, there's kind of this tradition of, you know, the tech guy being kind of locked out of the room while the guy who's like running the gallery gets to decide who gets the money. And I really think this is going away. I mean, the art world is just under tremendous siege. There's still a lot of money in collection, but the state supports for the arts is just going away. And it's being replaced really by like Kickstarter geek art. You just go out and you like find your friends on the net and sort of put together some kind of social thing and throw an event which is, you know, probably about as expensive as this event, and just fill it up with artists. And this is like happening all over the place. Very weird places. Belgrade has like 6 tech art festivals this year, and they're pretty good. And you know, it's just tied in with the kind of maker scene and this other kinds of immediate, hands-on, studio style, network-based stuff. And it's not fine art, but there's no reason for it to worry about that. It's got its own funding, it's starting to get its own credibility, it's starting to build its own alternative system, its own means of production. Super exciting times. I mean, these are times in the art world where Edvard Munch's painting The Scream sold for $128 million, which is the most amount of money ever paid for an artwork, probably by somebody in Qatar. But you know, that painting is a notorious symbol of mental illness. I mean, it's really a horrible painting, a fearsome thing. You know, and we live in a world where that's sort of where our art has gone. So it's kind of a world that needs some art therapy. And it's going to come from the bottom up. It's going to address what people are comfortable with now. And we're just in a generation now which is just a lot more comfortable with devices and software than it's ever been. You don't have to explain it to people. You're not afraid to interact. There's a generation of digital natives. Most of them are unemployed. They might as well make art. There's nothing else for them to do with their time. There's a demand for it. People enjoy it. We could be at the brink of not a golden age because we're too broke, but at least a silver age of tech art. You know, really. And there's a lot going on, and it's pretty easy to get up to speed with it. So thank you for your attention.